What is up everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be going over the pros and cons of switching to E85. It's been about 2 years since I made the switch from running 91 to E85 on this car. Now that I've had a good amount of time running this type of gas on this car, I figured it's a good time to give you guys a long-term review on running E85, just in case you're contemplating doing the same thing to your car. Maybe this video will help you out, make your decision. We're going to go over the pros and the cons, which, believe it or not, there's quite a few cons to running E85. In my experience, it's about a 50-50. Looking at it, it has its pros and it also has its cons, so we're gonna go through those on this video, so stay tuned. Let's start with the reason you want to switch to E85. So you're probably looking to make more power, but if you have a similar setup like mine where it's an NA build, the amount of power you're gonna make is not gonna be that much. I don't have an exact number for this car, but if I had to guess, I'd say it probably made a little less than 10 horsepower when I switched over to E85. And that's usually what I see like on other builds. When people have NA builds, they'll switch over to E85. The increase is no more than 10 horsepower. So keep that in mind if you have an NA build. If you have a turbo build, then switching to E85, the pros are a lot more because you will make a lot more power on E85. But if you're NA, keep that in mind. No more than 10 horsepower is what I've seen. So if you're expecting to make more than that, keep that in mind. There are also more pros to this, and we're gonna go over them right now. One of them being is the cooling. This gas burns a lot cooler. So what does that mean? That means if you're tracking your car, you're gonna get more consistent power out of it, and it won't be affected by the weather as much. So if it's really hot, it's gonna still burn cool. Your times were gonna be more consistent than they would be if you were running octane. Octane runs a lot hotter, therefore you're gonna be losing more power if you're doing consistent pulls on your car. So keep that in mind when switch. If that is something that is gonna fall in line to what you're doing with your car, then maybe switching to E85 is gonna be better for your build. Another pro we already kind of touched base on is it makes your car faster. On an NA build, it does make it faster, but is it really worth the extra 10 horsepower? That's kind of up to you and what your budget is on your build. I switched to E85 because I do plan on adding a turbo or a supercharger to this car, and when I do so, this car will benefit greatly from that. But I haven't made that switch yet. It's kind of like a future thing I did for this car, which it's been 2 years and I haven't done it yet, so who knows if I'll even do it at this point. Another reason is it's a lot cheaper than running 91. Here 91 is like around the $4.50 range, which is quite a bit, and that's like at the cheapest gas pump I can find. So keep that in mind. When I go fill up for E85, it's costing around $3 a gallon, which is a lot less. Just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's better, and we're gonna touch base on that, on the cons of this. When we start going over the cons of E85, we're gonna touch base on that. Another pro, in my opinion, is the smell. I'm not a big fan of the ethanol smell. I didn't like it when we were using the hand sanitizers back in the day. Few years ago, for when they were using ethanol as hand sanitizers. I don't really like the smell of it. I never really did. But I also don't like the smell of octane when you don't have a catalytic converter. On a long drive, that thing will give you a headache. With E85, it doesn't do that. The smell does not give you a headache. That's what I do like about it, and that, in my opinion, is a pretty good con, because if you're driving more than 30 minutes, you're probably getting headaches running octane gas. If you're switching over to E85, your headaches are going to be gone, and if you get rid of a headache, that's pretty good in my opinion. So that kind of goes over the pros on this switching to E85. Switching to E85 has its pros, and that's kind of just power. If you're switching, it's because you want to make more power. So yeah, keep that in mind. So now let's touch over the cons. So let's get started on the cons, because there's quite a few cons to running E85 that a lot of people, I feel, don't talk about. One of them is you're going to the gas station a lot. You're burning a lot more gas running E85 than you would be running 91. Like, for example, on this car, prior to when I used to run 91 with the same setup, I was getting almost 220 miles per tank. That's on my regular driving. When I switched over to 91, when I switched over to E85, I'm sorry, I started getting 160 per tank. So if you do the math, I talked about it earlier, how gas here costs $2.99 per gallon for E85 and about almost $5 for 91. More like $4.50. We'll stick with $4.50. It pretty much evens out. Only con is you're going to the gas station a lot more. I feel like maybe a month you're probably gonna go an extra time. So keep that in mind. Maybe you live close to your gas station, it's not a big deal, but keep that in mind. It's something that you're gonna have to be doing a lot. Another con, in my opinion, is it requires a big initial investment when switching over to E85. When I switched over to E85, I forgot how much it was, but I had to buy injectors, I had to get a fuel pump, and I needed to get a tune. Those were the three big things I needed to do, and with that, I mean, it's almost like $1,000 if I remember. Well, actually, I don't remember how much the tune was. I can't remember. I know I made a video of it, but it requires a big initial investment. So keep that in mind, that it's not like some of the cars where you can just switch over to E85 and you don't really need to buy injectors or a fuel pump for it. In this car, at least in any K series that I know of, these are basically what you need to do is injectors, fuel pump, and a tune. Those are the basics for if you have a K series. That's what you're going to be doing. Another con that I feel isn't talked about a lot is the maintenance of running E85, because there is maintenance, and I actually just had to do some maintenance for this car because I'm running E85, and what I had to do was I had to replace my fuel pump because my fuel pump they wore out fast, because E85 is a higher flowing gas. It needs to put more gas into your engine, so you're stressing out your parts a lot more than if you were running 91, because if you're running 91 you don't really need that much gas as opposed to when you're running E85. That's why, again, it burns less. So yeah, so that wore out my fuel pump. And another thing that you need to be doing is you need to be getting your injectors cleaned, and it's recommended to do it about once a year. I've been doing it about once every other year. I've only done them once, and I probably should do them again soon. But yeah, you need to be cleaning your injectors, because E85 is a little more corrosive than 91, so your injectors are going to be clogging up faster. So keep that in mind. As I've said, not a lot of people talk about the maintenance part of it. Everyone kind of just tells you what you need, but there's maintenance to it. It'll wear out your parts faster. You have to get injectors clean, because if you start getting injectors clogged up and it's not spitting out enough gas, then you can run into big problems. So you want to stay on top of that. Last but not least, one of the final cons about running E85 is that it's not really available everywhere. I'm lucky enough to have 3 close gas stations of E85, and that's kind of why I made it. One of them is up the street on my way home from work. That's usually the one I fill up on. I do have another that are probably around the same distance away from my car, maybe a couple miles. It's not the end of the world, but I can't go to the gas station that's up the street, basically. It's not as convenient as 91, but again, it makes more power than 91, and that's kind of what my goal was for this car, was to just make more power. That was my goal for this car, was to make more power, and obviously I had to make the switch to E85 to do so. So that is why I'm running E85. Again, maybe you have different goals than I do. Yeah, so those are the cons of running E85. Here's the difference. It's about $2 difference. I just finished topping off my car with some E85 here at my local gas station. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this video helped you make your decision on if you want to switch over to E85, please do me a favor and leave a like and subscribe. If you have a K series and you don't know, if you want to know what you need to switch over to E85, I'll leave a video. I'll leave a link for one of my videos that tells you everything you need somewhere on the screen. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.